Good afternoon and welcome to the Clark Athletic Center gym for Game 1 of today's Little East doubleheader between the Keene State Owls and the UMass Boston Beacons. I'm Doug Chin. Here alongside me is Seth Orensky, here to bring you the game today. Seth, how's it going today?
Well, it's a fun, exciting Sunday matinee action, especially because of what happened yesterday around the rest of the Little East Conference. A couple surprising results. Eastern Connecticut State, the preseason favorite, getting swept by Rhode Island College. That opens up a little bit at the top. Western Connecticut State, who's looked just plain bad the past week and a half. A huge win up in Gorham over Southern Maine, who was picked to finish second. So right now, if you're a Beacons or an Owls fan, a big chance to get a victory today, move up in the standings, and really have a good shot at potentially hosting a game next month in the Little East Conference quarterfinals.
And of course, these two teams have the benefit of knowing the results of yesterday's contest because of yesterday's postponement over to today. Now let's take a look at the team statistics for the game today. We have the Beacons, who are second in the Little East Conference on scoring offense, averaging 66 points per game. And Seth, what is going to be important about the scoring offense? Obviously, they had a little bit of trouble scoring in their first matchup back in December.
Yeah, neither team really scored at an especially impressive rate, a 57-48 win for Keene State. But I think a little bit, just looking at the box score from that first matchup between the two teams, UMass Boston had three players in double digits: Olivia Murphy, Tajay Burston, and Kirsten Marks. And the player to watch that we'll hear from we'll see in a couple of minutes was Grace Geary. 0 for 7, 0 for 5 from the field. Grace Geary is the hottest player in the Little East Conference right now, averaging 19 points per game. She went 0 for 7 from the field. The Beacons shot just 29.1%. Give credit to Keene State, but the Beacons have been shooting a lot better from the field as of late. And the biggest stat for me is the 5.9 rebounding margin. Two teams come in tied for second in the conference. That first game, it was Keene State who was plus 12 on the boards. The Beacons need to be better on the boards if they're going to have a chance to beat Keene State and avoid getting swept in the season series.
All right, and you kind of touched on it as we'll step over and take a look at the team leaders for both teams. Grace Geary, one of the most prolific scorers in the Little East Conference right now. She's averaging 14.3 points per game, a lot of those from three-point land. You mentioned it before. She didn't have the greatest game in the first matchup. So how is that going to change here today?
Well, I think Grace Geary's a different player between first and second semester. The Beacons were a team that was really predicated on their inside presence of Kirsten Morrison and Olivia Murphy down low. Both players finishing in double digits in that first one. Murphy, in last year's victory right here at home, had 27 points against Keene State. That's still a big part of their game, but Grace Geary has taken over as not just a third scoring option, but as another big scoring option. She's carried the load, had 28 points against UMass Dartmouth and a 10-point loss on Tuesday. UMass Dartmouth, the number one team in the conference right now after their big victory over Plymouth State. And Geary has proven that you can't double down low on Murphy or Morrison because Geary is such an effective threat. And Tajay Burston has proven that she can hit the three as well, as has Jamie Ballou off the bench. The Beacons have opened things up, and a player I forgot about, Katie Matthew, had 16 points, a career high in that loss to UMass Dartmouth. So the Beacons are getting more production out of their guards, which takes some of the pressure off their players down low and has to open up the defense. You can't just necessarily go into a 2-3 against the Beacons like you could in the past because the Beacons can hurt you from distance.
Absolutely. And Grace Geary, as we've been talking about all of this pregame, she's had a very good past few games. Recently, she was honored with a lot of weekly honors, first from D3Hoops.com, ECAC, and the Little East Conference. She was Rookie of the Week for all that. And then she followed up that three big games of the week before with a season-high 28 points against UMass Dartmouth. And it should be very interesting to see if she can carry that momentum into today's game.
Yeah, you look at her as our player to watch, and Geary has been especially impressive in conference play. 17 points per game. She put up 26 points in a win over Plymouth State. Then she put up 26 points against Brandeis, actually, in a huge upset victory. 27 against Plymouth State, 28 against UMass Dartmouth. She's proving that really the sky's the limit for the very impressive freshman guard out of Falmouth. And it's just not scoring offense. She leads the team in assists, leads the team in steals, one of the best three-point shooters, second in the conference in free throw shooting, and she's one of the top 3 players in the conference in assist-to-turnover ratio. An unselfish player who only looks for her own offense when she doesn't see anything else in the offense available.
Exactly, as you touched on it, not only leading the team, but in the top 10 in 7 different categories in the conference. All right, now we're going to step over and take a look at today's starters. First, for the visitors from Keene State, they're going to go with 3 guards, 2 forwards in today's lineup, led off by junior guard Kelsey Cognetta. Number 10, senior captain out of Amherst, New Hampshire, Kristen Voitas. Number 14, sophomore guard out of Tingsboro, Mass, Stephanie D'Anolfo. At the forward position, number 33, Courtney Roberts. And one of the team's top rebounders, number 35, Sarah Kober. Their head coach is Keith Boucher. Their associate head coach is Ryan Magnitis. And 3 assistants for the Owls, Rob Bennett, Brianna McCain, and Nikki Cody. And the starters for UMass Boston.
Tajay Burston, Grace Geary, and Mallory Nelson will get the start in the backcourt. They struggled in the first time against Keene State, and they'll have a difficult matchup against the combination of Cognetta and D'Anolfo. D'Anolfo doesn't get as much press as Cognetta, the team's leading scorer, but she leads the team in assists, leads the team in steals and blocks. I'm sure she'll be playing a lot of defense, specifically on Grace Geary, and she'll try to limit Geary's production. And then for the Beacons, it's the big 2 of Olivia Murphy and Kirsten Morrison. Morrison, already the 5th leading scorer in program history. On the other side, Olivia Murphy comes in just 52 points shy of 1,000, trying to become the 8th player in program history. Interesting to note, though, coming off a 0-point performance, her first game in her career that she didn't score. We'll see if she can do a little bit better today after going scoreless in 26 minutes against UMass Dartmouth.
Absolutely. And that's going to take us right into our keys of the game for today's game. And you just touched on a 0-point performance by Murphy in that game against UMass Dartmouth, her first 0-point game. So the key is to get her involved early, try to get that last game behind her, get her involved, and try to remotivate her back into the game. They're also going to have to control the glass, which we talked about before. They got out-rebounded in the first game. And they're also going to have to hit their free throws. A little bit of struggles in the last game. They were outshot on the free throw line 27-7 by UMass Dartmouth. Obviously, UMass Dartmouth also had a lot more opportunities, but we're going to see if they can improve on that number coming into today's game.
And Doug, you talk about struggles. The Beacons were 7 of 17. That's just 41%. UMass Dartmouth this season had 27 made free throws, but an efficient 27 of 31, 87.1%. And Courtney Mattingly was really frustrated with the results because she thought her team lost the game at the free throw line. As we're going to take a break for the national anthem.
All right, welcome back to the Clark Athletic Center gym. Doug Chin, Seth Orensky here with you on the Beacons Broadcast Network. bringing you game one of a men's-women's basketball doubleheader between the Keene State Owls and the UMass Boston Beacons. Two teams come in to this conference matchup. UMass Boston 5th place right now, 3-3. Obviously, they were idle while everybody else was playing yesterday, so they have a chance to move back into a tie with Southern Maine and RIC. Keene State comes in 7th in the conference, 2-4 so far this year as the stars are being introduced down on the court. They're a half game behind Western Connecticut, so they'll look to take that step up in the standings as we're about halfway through the conference schedule for these two teams.
Yeah, it's interesting for the Beacons how pivotal this game is. Keene State, a team that the Beacons are pretty comfortable playing against. UMass Boston went 1-1 a year ago. They actually swept the Owls 2 seasons ago. They would have loved to have gotten off to a better start to the conference season with a victory over Keene State. But UMass Boston needs to win today because they host Southern Maine on Tuesday, a team they've never beaten in 51 all-time matchups. Then UMass Boston goes to Rhode Island College, a team that's suddenly very hot despite losing a lot of what made them such a dominant team last year, the regular season and tournament champions. So the Beacons will have 2 tough tests. Then they take on Suffolk University in non-conference play and travel to Eastern Connecticut State. So their next 3 games in conference all are very difficult. Rhode Island College, the surprise team at 4-3 in conference play because of that sweep of Eastern Connecticut State. They also have a win over Western Connecticut State and a win over Plymouth State. So the Beacons took care of Rhode Island College, but it was only a 5-point game to end a 15-game losing streak back in December. Might be a little bit more difficult to win down in Providence. So this game is pivotal if the Beacons are going to take some momentum. UMass Boston so close to defeating the University of Southern Maine in all 3 of their matchups last year, actually, but fell short. So if the Beacons can win today, maybe they can carry it over against Southern Maine. And we say Tuesday, but folks, if you're not living in New England, you might not know there's a much larger storm that's supposed to hit the New England area Monday into Tuesday. There's a good chance that all the games midweek this week will be affected in basketball, hockey, all the winter sports here in New England. So that game could be played as late as Thursday, and then you're really talking about not only missing practice time, but having less time to prepare for Saturday's game. So the Beacons, with 2 pivotal games coming up, need to get a win today to make sure that this next week is a little bit less stressful.
Also, you don't want to have that long period of time to dwell on a possible defeat. And it looks like we're ready to tip off here as the Owls will win the tip. Cognetta controls in the backcourt.
And you see UMass Boston open up in this 2-3 zone, trying to force Keene State to hit some threes and trying to cut down any opportunities down low for the 2 pretty talented bigs for Keith Boucher.
Mallory Nelson comes away with the steal there as the Beacons get a stop on their first possession. This is Burson now. Swings it over to the left, over to Nelson. Back inside, looking for Murphy. As you mentioned, they want to try to get Murphy involved early. They were trying to get it in there, but it lost possession there as Voidas hits a 3 to give the Owls the first lead of the game.
And that's some great help side defense by Stephanie Dinalfo. Dinalfo came over and doubled Murphy off of Geary to force the steal. And once again, this time she comes up with it. 2 steals on the first 2 defensive possessions for Dinalfo.
Seeing some pretty strong defensive play here early on. 3 stops out of 4 possessions. The Owls now on the attack. This is Voitas. Gives it back over to Cognetta. Down low into Roberts. Kicks it back out. Voitas with another 3. Defensive rebound, Grace Geary.
It was a good extra pass there, a wide open 3 that was just a little bit off the mark from Voitas.
Pretty good ball movement here early on by the Owls. The Beacons still looking for their first opportunity. As Nelson will get called for the travel, they'll turn it over once again.
Yeah, Mallory was looking down low for Kirsten Morrison. It was a nice job on the block by Sarah Kober, and then Nelson, her indecision cost her there as she sort of shuffled the feet right in front of the Keene State bench.
Minute and a half into this game. Only 3 points on the board. They belong to Keene State. This is Dinalfo, swings it back over to Cognetta. Cognetta with the bounce pass over to Kober. Dinalfo turned into the lane for the drive, and she was fouled. First foul of the game.
It's going to go against Kirsten Morrison, her first. And another thing is Olivia Murphy had 2 first-half fouls against UMass Dartmouth that took her out of the game, so she needs to avoid that early foul trouble.
This ball will stay with the Owls off of Beacon's defender. Void toss to inbound from the baseline. Good pass there, finds Roberts for the easy lay-in to give the Owls the 5-0 lead.
Yeah, it was a great play call off the inbound. Sarah Kober cut hard to the basket. Murphy and Morrison doubled down on her, and it left Roberts open on the far block, and it was an easy 2 points.
So the Beacons still looking for their first points of today's game, as Nelson will send it cross court over to Geary, who will make the jumper and close the gap to 3.
Yeah, and because of her ability to hit the 3, causes the defenders to come out a little bit faster. She got a slightly more high percentage shot, and Geary finally gets the Beacons on the board.
As Cognetta misses the 3, the Owls get the offensive rebound. Owls, once again, this is some great passing coming from the Owls, but they turn it over there as Murphy comes away with the steal.
Love to see the Beacons get the ball onto the block, get a look for either Morrison or Murphy here.
Here's Murphy with the jumper from 15 feet. Doesn't go.
Sort of forced that shot. She drew a little bit of a double team there. Morrison was wide open as soon as she faked the shot, but Murphy trying to look for her own offense early. Can't complain too much, but missed a wide open Morrison. That would have been an easy 2.
This is Cognetta now. Goes inside to Kober, who turns it over, taken away by the Beacons. Marilyn Nelson coming away with the steal.
Another instance of a guard coming off of her assignment as Geary tipped that one over to Nelson with Kober not picking up her head.
Murphy sends it over to Burston, who will travel and turn it over again. Substitutions now for the Beacons checking in. Katie Matthew gives Mallory Nelson a break. 16:06 remaining in the half. 5-3 Owls with the lead.
Yeah, and Matthew, a similar player to Nelson. A little bit better of a shooter, though, so she can open up that Keene State defense. And right now the Beacons have been really indecisive in their offense, and that's led to a couple of turnovers.
8 seconds on the shot clock for the Owls. Driving lane is Dinalfo, who's fouled.
It's going to be Tajay Burston on a hand check, and that's tough. The Beacons were able to do such a nice job on the first 20 seconds of the shot clock, but a good move from Dinalfo to force, as it's going to be Matthew down low. And once again, Kober cutting hard into the lane. Beacons didn't have anyone there except for the much smaller Katie Matthew. And Keene State's done a nice job, if they can get any points here, capitalizing on a pair of inbounds right underneath the Beacons basket.
Absolutely. You mentioned Kober making some nice cuts, not only creating opportunities for herself as she knocks down the first free throw, but also creating opportunities for her teammates.
Trina Edwards checking in for Kirsten Morrison with that first foul. And Edwards is a little bit of a more active defender, and right now Keene State doesn't have a large lineup out there. They don't have any 6-footers on their roster, so the Beacons should have a size advantage even with Edwards out there. They just need to get a little bit more active on both sides of the ball.
This is Edwards driving the lane. Right-handed layup. Murphy with the rebound. Puts it back up for the lane. Closes the gap to 2.
And Murphy's not only one of the best rebounders in the conference, she's one of the best opposite side rebounders. She does such a nice job of not being called for over the back because she's able to jump high enough where it's not directly over the back. And that's a good spot for her, getting her own offense there rather than having to do it within the flow of the offense.
They're going to go right back into Murphy now, who's going to send it back out to Burston, who can't handle the pass.
And Burston, if she'd been able to catch that one, had a wide open Geary She was able to swing it to the top of the key. But a better set of possessions there for the Beacons over their past two. Nice job by Murphy not to force up the shot after she forced one up earlier from just past the free throw line.
Ryan Murphy checks in for the Owls. This is D'Anolfo. Finds Williams. Williams drives, tries to lay it in. Rebound Murphy. Beacon's going to take their time bringing it up court. Geary from the right wing gives it over to Murphy. Matthew, good hustle play there by the Owls to get the steal. Tossed inside to Cognetta, who's going to turn it over. Beacons take over out of bounds.
Well, Doug, that's just a series of, sloppy plays on both sides of the ball. And honestly, I think this Sunday game might be causing these teams a little bit of a problem. They're used to getting up for a Saturday game, and the Beacons didn't find out that the game was postponed until about 9 o'clock yesterday, so I'm sure they were in their routine. So I think both teams probably just getting accustomed to a Sunday start.
As Matthew knocks down a three to give the Beacons their first lead of the game. Just under 14 minutes left remaining in the half.
And Katie, coming out of Coventry, Connecticut, the Beacons knew she'd be a big three-point shooter. She started off the year really struggling from behind the line, shooting just 25%. That average is much higher over the past couple games.
Wojtas looking for the answer, but it won't go. And we'll get an offensive foul on the rebound by Courtney Roberts.
I think that was actually Ryan Williams.
Yes.
Oh, no, they're going to call it on Courtney Roberts, and I'm glad they did because Ryan Williams did nothing wrong there.
Right.
Ryan Williams looked like she just stole the ball away from Edwards on the rebound, but apparently there was a push or a shove away from the ball, and that makes me feel a little bit better about that call.
As Burson knocks down a three and forces Coach Boucher to take a timeout as the Beacons now lead 10-6. Nice little run there by the home team to pull ahead by 4. 13 minutes remaining here in the half. And Seth, scoring was a little bit hard to come by early on. We were seeing a lot of turnovers, but it seems like things are starting to settle down a little bit. Maybe, as you mentioned, maybe a little bit of rust from yesterday, getting all prepared for no game.
Yeah, and honestly, I think the Beacons have upped the defensive intensity. They forced some turnovers, and they're doing a nice job of spreading the wealth. Katie Matthew with the three. Tajay Burston with a deep three. NBA distance on that one from in front of the Keene State bench. Murphy's gotten involved. Katrina Edwards had a nice trip to the basket, unable to finish. But the Beacons are getting points from all over the place. Grace Geary has just 2 points, but Grace Geary doesn't need to score for the Beacons to be effective. She normally scores when the Beacons' offense isn't getting anything going. So this is a very good start for the Beacons after a slow opening 3 or 4 minutes.
And the Beacons have been able to capitalize on the opportunities that they've been able to get up. Shooting 4 for 6 from the field to start the half. It's just those turnovers that have been killing them. As this is Roberts with the lay-in for the Owls.
Yeah, that's a nice up and under against Murphy. Did a really nice job of controlling her body high off the glass, and a nice basket for the Sutton Mass native.
They go inside to Murphy. Murphy with the lay-in. Tried to get her own rebound, but it will come out, and Edwards will grab it. Sends it back out to Burston.
Good entry pass from Matthew. Murphy, though, still struggling a little bit since break with their field goal percentage.
Edwards looking for Murphy, who will pick it up. Left-handed lay-in. Tries again off her own offensive rebound. Won't go. Stephanie D'Anolfo comes away with it for the Owls. D'Anolfo wanted it. Decided to give it back up to Cognetta. He's going to drive and kick it back out to Cognetta. Cognetta with a three. Offensive rebound D'Anolfo. Another stop there for the Beacons, and they'll get a foul out of it as well.
Yeah, this time Ryan Williams was guilty of the foul. But, Doug, you see already the Beacons scouting Keene State well, which, no surprise, second time around, a conference rival. But Stephanie D'Anolfo is not a threat from distance. The Beacons are giving her all kinds of space that forced her to come in. But if in a 2-3 defense you know there's someone you don't have to guard from behind the arc, then you can get into the passing lanes a little bit more because you don't have to respect that ability from D'Onofrio to hit the three-point shot.
As Burston finds Morrison inside, Beacons lead by 4. Another turnover forced here by the Beacons. This is Matthew coming away with it. Seen some very strong defensive stops here by the Beacons as they've worked their way back into the game, as they find Morrison down low for another easy lay-in.
Yeah, there's some great chemistry between Geary and Morrison off the court, showing right there, and a great seal-off by Morrison to not allow Williams to come away with the steal.
The Owls, that one won't go for Ryan Williams, but there's a foul on the rebound.
Yeah, it was Matthew working against the larger Courtney Roberts, and there's not much Matthew can do there, as I believe that's going to be the second on Matthew, fourth on the Beacons, and Nelson will check back in, and that hurts the Beacons a little bit because Matthew's ability to shoot the three means that she's another option or another facet in the Beacons offense when she's out on the court.
Another stack off the inbound for the Owls. A little bit different show there. Didn't have anybody cutting down low. An errant pass there by Ryan Williams. He's looking to go down low to Amanda Petro, who just checked in.
And Doug, over the past, let's say 4 to 5 minutes, the reason the Beacons have been able to get out to this 6-point lead, it's on both sides of the ball. The Beacons have done a better job of cutting down on the passing lanes for Keene State, and they've had so many successful entry passes. Whether it's working or not, it's forcing Keene State to pay a lot more attention down low.
Another one there, but she'll kick it back out as Nelson will take the long two. It won't go, and the Owls come away with the rebound.
Unselfish play by Murphy, though, and it's a shot that Nelson's definitely capable of making.
Absolutely. As this ball will go off of the Beacons, stay with the Owls. 21 seconds left on the shot clock, about halfway through the first half here at the Clark Athletic Center gym. 14-8 Beacons lead as they come away with another steal.
Good hands by Murphy to get into that passing lane. UMass Boston doing a better job on those inbound plays of not allowing a pass inside the paint.
Another inside pass to Morrison, will kick it back out. Geary with the three. Won't go as Petro comes away with the rebound. They'll go inside to Petro, who will turn it over. Another steal by Nelson. As Murphy will lay that one in, and another timeout will be taken by Keene State. A nice little run here going for the Beacons.
Yeah, 6-2 to start the game in favor of Keene State. Since then, UMass Boston on a 14-2 run. And it's been a great job of UMass Boston getting everyone involved in the offense. And I think this is more of what the Beacons expected out of this game. Doug, you see a big size advantage for the Beacons. Even when Katrina Edwards came off the bench, as long as Murphy or Morrison is in there, it's going to be a difficult task for any of these Keene State defenders. And the Beacons have done a great job looking at the turnovers thus far. 10 turnovers already for Keene State to just 6 for the Beacons. The Beacons have 8 points off turnovers. And UMass Boston shooting 46%. That's 17% better than they did the first time. Keene State at 30%, 3 of 10, 1 of 5 from distance. And you can see Keene State needs to get their defense going because they just don't have as many offensive weapons, especially coming off the bench, as the Beacons do.
Yep. And they haven't been able to stop anything. The Beacons been able to throw at them. They've been scoring from deep. They've been scoring from inside.
Well, you just look at the scoring balance. Morrison with 4, Murphy with 4, Burston and Matthew with a 3 apiece, and Grace Geary, the team's leading scorer, just 2 field goal attempts, 1 for 2 thus far. It's a good sign for UMass Boston when it's not just one player getting involved.
And as we mentioned during the pregame, 3 players scored 34 of the team's 47 points the first time these two teams met. So they're working the ball around a little bit better, getting everybody involved in the scoring. Nelson goes inside, finds Morrison for the lay-in.
And Amanda Petro, she's listed at 5'11". She might be a little bit smaller than that. Murphy's a legit 6-footer. Morrison's over 6 feet. That's just a tough task, especially Morrison has few pounds on Petro as well, and she's just pushing Petro around down low.
Kelly looking inside to, not Kelly. Keene State looking inside.
Yeah, Voitas looked like she was trying to take a jumper there, but Nelson got so much up in her grill that that ball was way off the mark. It almost looked like Nelson made a little bit of contact there. Could have been called a foul.
As Cognetta will try the 3. Offensive rebound, Cobra will lay it back in.
Yeah, Amanda Petro got hit in the face with that rebound. It popped over to Cobra for the basket. I don't think
that's a tough assist.
Yeah, I don't know if she's going to be credited with the assist, but she'll take it with the team struggling. Just 2 points over the last couple minutes. Geary may have gotten away with the travel, but the way she's going, the referees will give her the benefit of the doubt.
10-point lead now for the Beacons off that Geary make. Purcell and Cognetta in the backcourt for the Owls, as Cognetta will be fouled.
It's going to go on Geary. She was trying to tap it out over to Burston and lead to a fast break, and that's a freshman mistake there. You're up by 10 points. You already have 14 fouls just over halfway through the half. There's no need, but just the first on Geary, so no significant foul trouble. Katie Matthew, the only player for either team with 2 fouls thus far.
So this will be Kober from the free throw line. Offensive rebound, Voitas, who will put it back for the 2.
And Kober, that's a difficult shot because if you don't hit it, there should only be one player down there. Voitas did a nice job of coming over from the weak side, and the rebound bounced off a couple hands, and Voitas with a nice finish.
Lay in here by Nelson. And now the Beacons will take a 30-second timeout.
And that's a great move from Mallory Nelson, her first points of the day. That's 2 of the past 3 possessions where the Beacons have gotten points in the paint, but not from their bigs. Grace Geary, a strong move to the basket. Mallory Nelson, a strong move to the basket. And now, if you're Keene State, you not only have to deal with the combination of Morrison and Murphy inside and the three-point capabilities of Matthew, Burston, and Geary, and even Nelson from deep. Now, if you're coming out hard at them, they're going to try to dribble by you. And do you elect to guard the player driving towards the hoop and give up guarding Morrison or Murphy? Or do you just sort of let that player through and see what happens? And that time, they tried to put a double team on Nelson. She split it and put it up. I mean, the Beacons are just firing on all cylinders right now. And Keene State, you need to just try to weather the storm. Keep this game close. Try to cut it maybe to a 6-point game or even tie it before halftime. Plenty of time left with 7 minutes. And then figure out some things defensively between the half.
Voitas will miss this lay-in, and Murphy will come away with the rebound. As the Beacons push it up court, this is Burston. They'll kick it out to Nelson for the long 2. Won't go. Easy rebound there for Sandy Purcell, the freshman guard out of Hudson, New Hampshire.
And that's what Keene State wants. They want Nelson to be the player shooting the long ball. They want the ball in Nelson's hand. They've done a nice job of slowing down Morrison and Murphy as of late.
As there will be a tie-up here between Nelson and Petro, but we're going to get a foul called. It will be on Nelson. 16 fouls now on the Beacons. 6.5 minutes left here in the half.
Yeah, just 3 team fouls on Keene State. Nelson nearly had the tie-up, but coming in from the side just got a little bit too much of Petro.
Cobra drives the lane, puts it in the layup, but won't go as Murphy comes away with the defensive rebound.
And Murphy already a much better game than her last time out. 4 points, 5 rebounds here in the first half. She finished with 0 points and just 2 rebounds against UMass Dartmouth.
As the Owls come away with the steal here. This is going to be Purcell. Pushing it. Misses the layup. Offensive rebound there by Courtney Roberts as she's fouled trying to put it back up.
Well, that's either the second on Burston or Morrison. Neither player can believe it. Courtney Mattingly's a little frustrated as well. And that play all started. Geary got a little bit too aggressive trying to get the ball inside to Murphy, and it was a nice job by Purcell to push it. So now, second foul on Burston, which is a better scenario, as Burston can likely avoid foul trouble better than Morrison, banging down low on the block. But Keene State with a little bit of a run to cut this game to a 9-point game.
Roberts makes one of two, as the Owls now trail 22-13. Burston swings it back over to Geary. Geary driving left, sends it out to Nelson. Nelson drives the lane, lays it up, won't go. Murphy with the offensive rebound, puts it back for two.
And I like to call that play the spinorama. Murphy will catch the ball, catch the rebound with their back to the basket, goes up with the left hand. And even at this level, a lot of players are not used to going up against the lefty in the block, and it takes a little bit of time to get used to. And now a huge three there from Voitas, who's been the biggest scoring threat thus far, as Voitas now has 8 points for Keene State.
And three-pointers are Voitas' game. She's 18th in Division III from three-point field goals per game, averaging 2.8, as that one won't go for Cognetta.
And that's just a bad fast break for Keene State. You have a 4-on-1 break on the turnover where Burston got caught on the baseline, tries to send it back up to the elbow. Keene State had the numbers. Geary sort of got back to make it a 4-on-2, but because Geary was able to cut off the ball handler, she forced a bad shot, and Murphy, the second most prolific rebounder in the conference behind Joe Retrowski, able to come up with the rebound. And right now, if you're Keene State, you need to make some better decisions. You're down by 8. It could be a little bit wider if the Beacons were shooting even just a little bit better, although 55%. I mean, I guess I would say the Beacons are getting so many high percentage shots, they could be shooting better. 55%, right. A very good mark. But if you're Keene State, you're right in this game. And if you're UMass Boston, you need to realize that an 8-point lead is not big enough right now. You need to keep pushing. You need to keep making good decisions. And the Beacons have already turned the ball over 9 times. 3 of the past 4 turnovers have been on the Beacons.
And the Owls are a team that likes to shoot threes. They're pretty good at 31%, not bad. Third in Little East, as the Beacons will control with just under 5 minutes remaining here in the first half. Morrison will kick it back out to Matthew. Matthew finds Nelson back inside to Murphy. Juggles it a little bit, and she will be fouled here. Foul's going to be called on number 2, Kelsey Cognetta, her first, team third.
Murphy looked a bit like a soccer player on that one, able to balance it, and the Beacons now turning it right back over.
Oh, a big block there by Geary, as the Beacons will look for transition. And they'll get the easy lay-in from Murphy.
Yeah, that's a tough one. There's no secondary assist in basketball. Geary made that entire play happen. A huge block in transition on Sandy Purcell, all ball, then immediately looks to run. Neither Matthew or Murphy were able to get back in time, so a very easy basket for UMass Boston.
Purcell looking for 3. Won't go as Matthew comes away with the rebound.
And Doug, that's a 4-point play. It pushes it back to a 10-point lead rather than cutting it to 6, which would have been the closest Keene State has been in about 6 or 7 minutes.
Murphy now kicks it back out to Nelson. Matthew with the 3. Won't go. Rebound on the defensive end by Courtney Roberts. Williams looking for 2, as Matthew will come away with the rebound. Yeah, we'll seem to be rushing their shots a little bit more now that they're trailing. Earlier in the game, you've seen a lot of great ball movement. Seems like they're not using a lot of the shot clock here lately, as there's a lot of contact there. No foul called as the Owls will come away with the rebound.
Yeah, Murphy a little bit slow getting up.
As Voitas misses a three.
And Doug, you talk about not taking your time.
Murphy will lay that one in off the offensive rebound.
Voitas had a wide open player on the far side. Instead, she took a contested three-pointer, and it led to another, not technically fast break opportunity, but it's essentially a 2-on-1 there, so the Beacon's able to come away with 2 more points. Keene State, what they have done well, it hasn't led to more points necessarily. No, they're bringing their bigs out to the elbow and taking some jump shots. It's forcing Morrison or Murphy to come out with them, and it gives the other big a chance for a one-on-one rebounding opportunity. And the Beacons have had one of their bigs get caught a little bit on some of the switches, which has forced a couple times either Kober, Roberts, or Williams has been down low battling against the Beacons 3, either Nelson or Matthew. That's a mismatch, but that 2 possessions ago, that happened where Williams took a jump shot and the ball just bounced a little bit too far over the heads of both of the players battling on the block, and it led to another Beacons basket. Right now, though, UMass Boston is not doing a great job in their transition defense. Keene State, though, isn't executing in their transition offense, and the Beacons are doing a great job of turning defense into offense. And it all starts with Grace Geary. She does such a nice job of looking up court and trying to find options. And Olivia Murphy doing a very good job of cherry picking on the other end and coming up with some easy baskets.
So Keith Boucher coming out of this timeout, maybe he's trying to settle his team down a little, make him stop forcing the shots, as we're seeing a little bit more of that ball movement that we saw early on from the Owls. The jumper here from Lauren Allen.
Yeah, Allen just in. She's a local junior guard out of Medford, Massachusetts, not too far away. Attended Manning-Non High School, and right now, Keene State going deeper into their bench, trying to find a winning solution.
Nelson now. It's going to be a long 2. Rebounded by D'Anolfo. D'Anolfo goes coast to coast. Looks like it was blocked there inside partially by Morrison.
Yeah, Morrison got just a little bit of it, and it was a great drive from D'Anolfo getting by Geary, but that's the benefit when you have Murphy or Morrison, 2 great shot blockers. You can allow them to get by and make the aggressive move, and then Geary on the other end showing why she's such a difficult situation for opponents by driving hard to the basket, drawing the foul. It's just the 4th on Keene State of the half.
As Geary goes to the line, makes her first. 5 points now for Grace Geary.
And Doug, we talk about Olivia Murphy coming off her worst game of her career. She's already got 10 points, 10 rebounds here in the first half on 5 of 10 shooting. And I'm sure that at least 3 or 4 of those rebounds have come on the offensive end of the court right now.
Absolutely, and she's been able to put some of those back, helping her to the double-digit point total. As this ball will come out to Murphy. Murphy with the floater, and it goes.
Yeah, that's a great play by Sam Murphy, able to hang in the air just long enough to get the shot off clean, and that's a big basket right there for the Milford, Connecticut native.
12-point lead for the Beacons as they try to go inside to Murphy, tipped away by the Owls. 1 minute remaining here in the first half from the Clark Athletic Center gym. Matthew with the 3. Rebound, number 14, Stephanie D'Anolfo. Allen drives the lane with the lay-in, no good. Rebounded by Petro. That ball will be deflected out of bounds and stay with the Owls.
Yeah, Petro tried to find an opening against Murphy. Murphy did a great job of staying on her feet, and Murphy a little bit taller, a little bit longer, and that's just too easy for the Beacons' leading shot blocker.
This is D'Anolfo now. Sends it back out to Allen. Nikki Stacy inside to Petro. Ball comes back out, down low to Petro. Well defended there by Morrison. Forces Petro to give it up, and Grace Geary comes away with the steal. Matthew for 3, and that'll go.
It's a great series of passes there. Nelson, knowing that she had Matthew wide open in the corner. You can hear the Keene State head coach screaming, "Shooter, you can't leave Katie Matthew wide open."
So the Owls trying to score here on this last possession. Layup attempt there by Murphy, but it won't go as the buzzer will sound. 33-18, Beacons lead here in the first half. Seth, it was pretty close early on, a little bit slow to get going, but since then, the Beacons have really turned it on.
Yeah, UMass Boston got off to a slow start. They trailed 6-2 in this half, and they closed out the half on a 31-12 run. The Beacons playing some of their most balanced basketball of the season, though. 10 points from Olivia Murphy, 6 from Morrison, 6 from Geary, 6 from Matthew. Who do you guard? And that's the difficult part. Mallory Nelson's the only player that really hasn't gotten her offensive game going. She has 2 points on 1 of 5 shooting. Keene State is trying to make her the option in the UMass Boston offense that is going to look to shoot. Well, when Matthew's out there, all 5 players are capable of scoring. Tajay Burston, when she's on the court, she had those 2 fouls, so she sat the last couple minutes. She's never going to look for her own shot, but when she does shoot it, she shoots at a pretty high clip. She hit a deep 3 for her only shot of the half. The Beacons just so balanced defensively, and on the other side, the Beacons defense holding Keene State to 23.3% from the field, 12 first half turnovers. The Beacons turned that into 15 points off turnovers. Everything's going the Beacons' way. Right now, if you're Keene State, you need to go into the locker room, and you have to figure out how you're going to slow down the Beacons' offense, and you need to find out get some better looks offensively. They need to have their three-point shooters start hitting a couple because that'll take off the pressure from their forwards. Keene State just 2 of 9 in the first half from distance. The Beacons 3 of 6. And there's still a lot of basketball to be played. It's a 15-point game. Stranger things have happened here at the Clark Athletic Center Gymnasium this year, but one of the better first halves of the year for UMass Boston.
As we were talking about, this is a big game here for the Beacons as they have 2 tough conference matchups coming up. This will bump them up in the standings a little bit, moving back into a tie with their next 2 opponents, Southern Maine, and Rhode Island College. So obviously they still got a lot of work to do, still 20 minutes left to play, but so far so good for the Beacons.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that Olivia Murphy has 10 points and 10 rebounds is a great sign right there. Coming off her worst game, you want to see how she's going to respond. But it's nice to see that the other players are getting theirs. Grace Geary with the 6 points, only credited with 1 assist. That seems a little bit low to me. The Beacons have 7 assists for the half. They've probably passed well enough to have 10 or 12. The Beacons' passing has been very, very strong, and the Beacons don't want to necessarily have a player who leads the conference in scoring because they think they have 4 or 5 players who are capable of scoring 10 points per game. It's never going to end up with that in the long term, but they think that any given game they can have 5 players do it, and it's certainly within the realm of possibility today with Matthew getting involved. Morrison has 6, Matthew has 6, Geary has 6, and who knows, Burston or Nelson or even Edwards, who didn't see much time in that first half, could get involved as well.
All right, so we're going to take a quick break here from the Clark Athletic Center gym. Doug Chin, Seth Orensky with you. In Game 1 of a Beacons basketball doubleheader, UMass Boston leads 33-18. Welcome back to the Clark Athletic Center gym. Doug Chin, Seth Arensky here with you. We're watching women's basketball, Keene State Owls against the UMass Boston Beacons. As we take a look at the first half stats, the Beacons leading 33-17, and a lot of those points coming in the paint for the Beacons, the 20-8 advantage. But as we mentioned early in the game, these two teams, they came in with exactly even rebound margins, and the rebound numbers so far, pretty close.
Yeah, and the good thing for UMass Boston is Keene State is clearly a very good rebounding team. They're tied for second with the Beacons in the conference, and the Beacons the first time around were -12. That's just a number that's not acceptable when you have bigs as competent and as big as Olivia Murphy and Kirsten Morrison and Katrina Edwards and Brittany Moore and Raven Kelsey. We haven't seen more of Kelsey. We might see a little bit of them in the second half if there's any foul trouble or if this lead extends. But UMass Boston's done a better job. And Doug, the numbers that stick out, the Beacons shot 50% from the field, 50% from distance. Keene State, 23.3% from the field, 22.2%. That might not necessarily extend into the second half, but if the Beacons can be even close to being as good on both sides of the ball, this game is over. I think Keene State will make a run. I don't think the Beacons will shoot 50%. I don't think Keene State will shoot 125%. But those are some phenomenal numbers, and those are team numbers. It's not one player doing it. Beacons have had a lot of offensive threats, and they've done a great job getting into the passing lane, forcing those 12 turnovers, as Keene State actually has more shots than the Beacons do. They just haven't had any kind of success.
And that's a credit to the Beacons as well, who are first in the conference in field goal percentage defense. So defensively, they've been a pretty tough team so far this year, and they're just showing it here today.
Well, they talked about in the preseason how this team was going to win with their defense as we check out some of the team leaders, and I think that's proven it. In some of their big wins this year, it's been because of their defense. Their win over Brandeis and potentially getting a win today, it's been their defense that's led the way. Doug, when you look at this, Olivia Murphy, most players just try to get a double-double for a game. She did in the first half. A great response from her. Dajay Bursted, quiet offensively, but has 3 assists. And Grace Geary, she's been averaging 3 or 4 steals per game over the past 4 or 5 games. She's just continuing to have an impact on all over the game. And for Keene State, Voitas has been good with 8. Denalfo has 8 rebounds, but not enough players are contributing, especially on the offensive end. Looking at the total statistics, only 4 players have scored. Sam Murphy has 2, Sarah Cobra has 3. Courtney Roberts is the only other player with more than 3 points on this roster. They need to get contributions from a few more players in the second half if they're going to have a chance.
I mean, you're only making 7 field goals in the first half. You're not going to see a lot of spread around scoring. So you're right. They're going to have to get everybody involved, try to get the scoring going as we're ready to get underway for the second half. Beacons in possession.
And immediately, Keene State coming out in a 2-3 defense. We saw mostly man-to-man in the first half. So trying to force the Beacons to beat you with their 3-point shooting, an interesting tactic out of the half.
They're going to get inside to Murphy, though, who's going to get fouled, It's going to be on number 14, I believe, Stephanie Denalfo.
That's a tough one. Denalfo looked like she had decent position. Murphy hit the underside of the backboard, but it's a bit of a bailout call. But at the same point, you can't give Olivia Murphy that spot. If she gets onto the block, she's a threat to either hit the layup, get her own rebound, or be fouled. And she misses the first one. She's done such a great job in improving from the free throw line to be a more successful player. It's a good spot for her to be there. She's now gets her first free throw attempt of the game. It's the one spot where the Beacons have struggled, only getting the line 3 times, but they are 3 of 3.
So the Owls, with their first possession of the second half, comes out to Voitas. Cognetta, well defended by Burson, as it will come inside to Roberts, back out to Cognetta, whose shot won't go. Morrison with the rebound.
And Cognetta, the team's leading scorer, 11.6 points per game. 0 points in that first half, 0 for 4, 0 for 3 from distance. They've got to get her more involved.
Cross-court pass to Geary. Geary with the 3. Offensive rebound, Murphy. And it's going to be a jump ball there as D'Onofrio got her hand on it. And it will go over to the Owls. Sorry, go ahead.
It'll go down as an unsuccessful and empty offensive trip down the floor, but a great kick across to a wide-open Grace Geary. She's shooting over 35% from 3. That's a good look. And then Murphy, a good offensive board, and you only lose the ball because of the possession now.
So the Owls try to take advantage of that as Roberts tries to go up and under. Hit the bottom of the backboard, and the Beacons come away with the defensive rebound.
Yeah, good move against the bigger Morrison, but just didn't time it correctly.
Murphy with the ball inside, kicks it back out to Morrison. Back up to Burston. Burston with 3. Rebound there by Voitas.
Would have loved to have seen Morrison try to take it all the way. She had the lane, saw Burston. Not a bad option. Burston's a good 3-point shooter, but it's obviously much better to take a layup attempt.
As that ball is thrown wildly by D'Onofrio, trying to go inside to Roberts.
And Keith Boucher just looks very frustrated as now they'll try a full court press. Trying something, and it almost works.
So the Beacons will keep possession as Burston was able to toss that ball off Owls defender. Full court press comes away with a steal by Purcell. Will throw it off Burston, and the Owls will get possession.
And the Beacons, a young team. Geary's a freshman. Nelson and Burston, both sophomores. Sometimes they do struggle with the press, and I like the move. Down by 16, your 2-3 defense isn't necessarily working. You're giving up options. Well, if the Beacons can't get into their half-court offense, if they can't get on offense at all, really, that's a way to slow down the Beacons' offense. Shooting just under 50% now, but they've also turned the ball over pretty frequently.
3 ball by Purcell. Rebound by D'Onofrio. As that shot is blocked by Murphy.
And the 3 continues to be difficult. That ball hit off the top of the scoreboard. And Courtney Manningly was wondering if that ball should have been ruled out of bounds. It was close to hitting the physical scoreboard, as now it looks like we've lost our shot clock person, and that's why they were looking at the shot clock. And Shelby Buck, one of the assistant coaches, is going to help out.
As Voitas knocks down a 3. Turnover here by Geary.
And this is a big chance for Keene State. You just hit a 3, force back-to-back turnovers. Can you make a run now? Down by 13 points, 17:25 to go. There's a ton of time left in this game, but it's much better to cut into the deficit now rather than having to do it in the final 5 minutes.
Voitas with another jumper there. 5 points in the past 2 possessions, forcing the Beacons to call a timeout. And Seth, if you're Courtney Mattingly, what are you telling your team here now?
Well, first it's just relax, and then I'm working on my press break. The Beacons, they know what they're supposed to be doing. The issue is they're not executing it. Burston twice has been trapped, once against the baseline, once against the sideline. That's the last place that you want to go. It's where the defense is going to try to force you to. And then Grace Geary, an excellent ball handler. She just caught a little bit of the sideline. So you need to avoid the turnovers. And then defensively, keep doing what you've been doing. I think with her young squad, a big part of this timeout is just a message of calm down, settle down. You're still up by 11 points. You're on your home court. You've played so well. Don't let this rocky little patch get into your head and allow Keene State to get back into the game.
The only point for the Beacons in the first 3 minutes of the second half was on one of the free throws by Murphy.
And Doug, remember, Keene State started the first half on a 6-2 run. So the Beacons off to a slow start in both halves, but there's a reason that you play 40 minutes rather than just 6.
As the Beacons are able to get the ball into the front court finally, breaking the press.
It's a huge play by Geary to save that one as Nelson nearly threw it out of bounds.
Nelson with it now. Finds Murphy at the top. He goes down low to Morrison. Morrison, lay-in attempt, rebound Roberts.
Yeah, it's a good feed from Murphy, but Morrison was triple teamed down there. Be nice to see her try to kick it out to either Burston or Geary for an open look.
Gianolfo finds Voitas, who scored 7 of the past 7, points for the Owls as they've slowly worked their way back in. Single-digit lead now for the Beacons at 9 as the Owls get another stop. This is Cognetta for 2.
And you can tell that the momentum has certainly shifted right now. Keene State finding their offense from the free throw line as Morrison can't get a touch on that one. Another turnover for UMass Boston, and Voitas has been the leader on this team thus far. Voitas, the senior out of Amherst, New Hampshire, doing a great job as one of the senior captains to get her team back into this game. And that basket by Cognetta could be huge to see if she can get more involved. Her first points of the day.
She has the ball now. She swings it over to Purcell. Purcell drives the lane, sends it back out to Cognetta. Cognetta defended by Burston. Now it's back at Purcell. Purcell drives the lane, tries to lay it in. Offensive rebound by Voitas, gives it back to Purcell, who takes the jumper. Offensive rebound by Gianolfo. The shot clock buzzer went off, but it looked like that last shot hit the rim.
Yeah, that shot hit the rim with about 1 second to go. Wasn't reset, so it'll be Keene State ball underneath with the new shot clock. It's frustrating if you're a Keene State fan because there was a chance down low for a bucket, but the confusion forces the whistle, and now I believe we're going to have a hand check foul on Katrina Edwards as the referee slowly takes his time. And actually, he's going to come over and talk to our new shot clock facilitator, and that's going to be Pepper Baker. A very successful volleyball player, but struggling a little bit more with the shot clock than she does with her sets and spikes, as she helped lead the Beacons to a regular season title this year. #1 seed overall in the Little East Conference tournament.
So the Owls inbound from the right sideline. Voitas over to Gianolfo. Gianolfo drives the lane, lays it in with the right hand as the full court press remains on for the Owls. Edwards gets fouled here. It's going to be on Courtney Roberts, her second.
And Doug, right now an 11-1 run for Keene State, and a big part of why they're being successful right now is they're forcing the ball into the hands of Nelson rather than Burston or Geary. And Nelson, she's a small forward. She's not used to bringing the ball up court.
Geary goes inside to Murphy, who's going to get called for the travel. Another turnover here by the Beacons.
And that's a tough call. Geary was definitely being pushed a little bit from both sides, sandwiched between a pair of Keene State fouls. It could go either way. But right now, just as everything went UMass Boston's way in the last 5 or 10 minutes of the first half, everything's going the Owls' way. And this is a big spot for the Beacons. Can you rebound? Can you keep yourself mentally in this game right now when things aren't going your way?
This is going to be Cognetta with another nice move there as she gets 2. 3-point game now here at the Clark Athletic Center.
Yeah, the Beacons in the man-to-man. Burston doing a great job defensively, but she's given up a couple inches to Cognetta, and that's just a great move from Cognetta and a nice finish. And right now, both teams in the man-to-man, and this is an instance where sometimes you see Grace Geary take over because the rest of the offense isn't working, as we'll see another hand check.
This one's going to be on Stephanie Gianolfo. That's going to be her second.
And maybe one of the messages that Keith Boucher had at halftime is we need to be more aggressive. The Beacons were called for 8 fouls in that first half. Keene State just 3. They've been more aggressive, especially with the press. You're going to be more aggressive, and that's helped get them back into this game.
As Murphy ends the Beacons scoring drought with that jumper. This ball comes inside to Roberts, who will lay it in.
It's a great feed that time from Voitas to find Roberts, and Murphy really had no angle to get a shot block.
Voitas now with 6 assists to go along with their team leading 15 points. 5 assists. Murphy be fouled inside.
It's another great feed from Geary, and Murphy losing her balance that time. A little bit of a shove didn't hurt.
Third foul on D'Onofrio, as Murphy will go to the line, shoot 2.
That's huge. D'Onofrio has been very good. D'Onofrio and Voitas have been the top 2 players during this run, and they're actually going to, they'll take out D'Onofrio with the 3 fouls. But already 4 team fouls on Keene State. The Beacons haven't been whistled for one. UMass Boston, a pretty good free throw shooting team. But the question is, can they hit their free throws late? It's something that they really struggled against UMass Dartmouth, 7 of 17, their worst performance of the year.
So the Owls back on the attack now, trailing by 4. As Purcell will take the 3 and knock it down, and they trail by just 1 now. 37-36 Beacons. Full court press remains on for the Owls. Now they'll drop back.
Yeah, Geary got caught underneath the screen that time. Couldn't get there in time.
Geary with the long 3. Offensive rebound by Nelson, who will lay it back in.
Talk about everyone needing to contribute. Mallory Nelson's been pretty quiet offensively, but that's the second time she's been able to get the ball into the lane and come out with a huge basket.
Voitas is going to drive now and find Roberts inside. He's going to get the basket and the foul. Fouls on number 15, Olivia Murphy, and Roberts to the line to try and to complete the 3-point play and tie this game up.
Keene State in this half, 9 of 13 from the field. Red hot after shooting just 23.3%, and all of a sudden you can kiss that 16-point lead away. It's a 1-point game, and the Beacons are in a dogfight here.
Roberts missed the free throw, so the Beacons still with a 1-point lead. 10 seconds on the shot clock. Geary finds Morrison. Morrison goes inside to Nelson. Nelson into Edwards. Edwards misses the lay-in. Second chance, puts it home.
Every player touched the ball for UMass Boston in the final 10 seconds of the shot clock. That's great unselfish play. Nelson had a look, an extra pass, and a nice job by Edwards following up on her own miss.
Good awareness, too, knowing that they still had that time on the shot clock to make that extra pass. As we'll get a jump ball here. Possession arrow points toward the Beacons, so they'll take over.
And that's big for UMass Boston, holding on to this 3-point lead, a chance to extend it. Right now, the last thing you want to do is give Keene State a taste of the lead. Keene State led 6-2, have not led since. For UMass Boston, you really want a nice 5-0 run right now to take back control of this game. We're going to see Katie Matthew check back in, most likely for Mallory Nelson. Those two sort of interchangeable at the 3. And Matthew, a little bit better of a 3-point shooter. We'll see if she can knock down a big 3 to give the Beacons some momentum back.
So Allen picks up the foul here. Geary inbound.
It's already the 15th foul. Something to keep track of here is Beacons should be shooting free throws shortly if this keeps up.
As that ball is stripped by Roberts, and the Owls looking to counter.
And Roberts did a great job running the floor. Cognetta couldn't find her.
Cognetta able to pick that ball up on the loose chance. That basket won't go for Roberts as Morrison comes away with the rebound.
Yeah, that ball was halfway down. Bad luck for Keene.
Geary for 3. That'll go. Opens the lead back up to 6.
Yeah, she was 0 for 3 from distance. She had 4 good looks at the basket. Now she's got 9 points, and that's big for UMass Boston. Geary's such a confident, cocky player, and I mean that in a good way.
This shot isn't going to count as a foul on the floor. It's going to be on Edwards.
And Edwards is a little frustrated with the foul, but you know what? It's a good foul to give one-on-one. Roberts is a strong player. She's an upperclassman, she's got the size on Edwards, so better to give the foul than to give up the layup on a potential N1. As she'll head to the bench with Murphy back in.
This is Purcell now. It looks like the Owls, their game plan now is to go into the post to Roberts as she lays another one in.
Yeah, well, the big thing is the Beacons have been running 3 bigs, and Keene State is running 4, even 5 players in the post. And at some point you wonder about fatigue. UMass Boston hasn't put in their 4th big, which would be either Raven Kelsey or Brittany Moore. So see if you can tire out Kirsten Morrison and Olivia Murphy.
So far, so good for the Owls as they'll get another defensive rebound off that Grace Geary try.
One thing about this outfit right here for Keene State, a couple of subs in. Allen is not looking for her own shot. So you're really, and when Petro's in the game, which she isn't currently in, and we saw a lineup of Allen in earlier with Petro, 2 players not looking for their own shot, it really cuts down on what the defense needs to do. So Keith Boucher making sure that only one of those 2 players is out at any one time, and that makes it more difficult. As good look off the inbounds play, something Keene State did really well early, but shot's still a little bit difficult for Keene.
Murphy comes away with their 12th rebound of the game. As the ball will come inside her. A little bit of contact, but she'll get her own rebound and put it back in.
And the first shot wasn't a good one, but she's able to clear out a little bit more space on the rebound and an easier second attempt. And I love the kid with Olivia that she leads the country in getting her own rebounds. She was shooting well over 50% halfway through the season. Her average has dropped a little bit. It's been a frustrating second half, but she's having one of those signature Olivia Murphy games, 16 points, 13 rebounds, and we've still got 9:19 to play.
As the Owls will make that one to make it a 4-point game once again. Interesting inbound there. But the Beacons are able to break the press, set up their half-court offense. This is Geary who kicks it back out to Matthew. Back to Geary. Catch and shot. Doesn't go. Offensive rebound, Morrison. Back out to Geary. Geary back into Morrison. Can't handle the pass, but she's going to be fouled. This one's going to be on the sophomore forward from East Hampton, Mass, Sarah Kober.
And there's the frustration for the Beacons. Morrison's loose ball was going right to Murphy. It was all alone on the near block. So both times the whistle has gone when it looked like there was a clear basket for both teams. But a good run from Morrison, and now Edwards needs to come in and provide the same kind of aggressiveness she showed in the first half.
So this is Burston now. Ball into the hands of Geary. Over to Matthew. Back to Geary. Geary cross court to Burston. Burston for 3. Offensive rebound, Edwards. Edwards puts it back up and lays it in.
It's a great possession from Katrina Edwards. She was nearly pushed to the ground by Sandy Purcell, who should have been called for running through the screen. Tracked that ball from the free throw line, a good rebound, and then putting it up. A great job of getting on the boards. And Katrina Edwards, the sophomore from Springfield, is making her impact known.
As Voitas is going to be fouled here. She'll go to the line shooting 2. That foul's on Grace Geary, her second, team's 5th.
And Doug, all of a sudden, there's 11 team fouls in this half. 6 on Keene, 5 on the Beacons.
Voitas, and this is the first.
See 2 players come in for Keene. Now you know you're going to see free throws and see them shortly as the Beacons have gotten more aggressive. And the good news for both teams is there's not really a ton of foul trouble. The only player with 3, I believe, is Voitas, and she's in there right now. Denolfo actually has the 3 fouls, and Kirsten Morrison has 3 for UMass Boston. That's why she took a quick seat.
Owls make 1 of 2. And then pick up a foul. This one's going to be on number 3, Sandy Purcell.
This is the player you don't want to send to the free throw line if you're Keene. Geary second in the conference at 83%. Player who leads the conference is on the other side, Cognetta, who is shooting 85%. So both teams need to be cognizant of who to foul and who not to foul, as Geary struggled a bit more here in the second half of the season. 1 of 2 from the line.
6-point lead now for the Beacons, and we're going to get an offensive foul called here. This one's going to be on number 14, Stephanie D'Onofrio. That's her 4th. So still 8 minutes left to play. D'Onofrio has been one of the better players for the Owls, picking up her 4th foul.
Boucher not going to the bench, and Geary a great job of immediately coming off the ball. She looked like not a wide receiver tracking down the ball because she wasn't going to catch it, but a nice outlet from Matthew, and that's a great play to break the press. And now 2 free throws for Grace Geary, as I think they called that a shooting foul.
Sam Murphy getting ready to check in for the Owls is a shooting foul, as Murphy got sent back to wait for the first free throw, which is good by Geary. Murphy checks in for Purcell. Geary 1 for 2 once again. D'Onofrio pushing the ball up court, gives up to Voitas. Voitas for 2. Bounces on the rim for a bit, doesn't go, and Miss Matthew comes away with the rebound. Geary looking to drive, gives it back up to Matthew. Matthew, top of the key to Murphy. Murphy back out to Burston for the long 3, and that'll go.
I love Tajay Burston's shot. She gives herself a second to hesitate, get into form, and then such a sweet right-handed shot, able to hit the ball from well beyond the three-point line. And that's a huge basket right there, Doug. We talked about the importance of not giving Keene State the lead. Well, Beacon's got a couple baskets to push it to a 2-possession game, and now all of a sudden it's a 10-point UMass Boston lead.
Yeah, they opened up the lead back up to double digits, forcing Keene State to take a timeout. 7 minutes left in the game, and it's building up to be a very good game down the stretch. As you mentioned, it's going to be important to see how the Beacons shoot from the line as this game gets later on and the Owls get into the foul game.
Yeah, and already the Beacons have missed some free throws from players that you'd expect to be a little bit better. Geary's 4 of 6, well below her 83% mark. Murphy, who's the team's 3rd best free throw shooter, at 2 of 4. 6 of 10 overall is not bad, but the Beacons, one of the better free throw shooting teams in the conference, at least they were a couple weeks ago. They've dropped to 7th at 65.1%. UMass Boston, if they're going to be a successful team, they need to hit their free throws because they're not an above average offensive team. They are towards the top of the conference, but they can't get 5, 6, 7 points in 20 seconds. They need to set up their offense, and they don't have too many three-point shooters. So to really keep yourself in a lot of games and to give yourself chances to win games against good competition, you need to be able to hit your free throws.
So this is Cognetta now. Good job by the Beacons defense. Wouldn't give Cognetta anything. No passing options, no drive options. Forced her to take a quick shot. He came away with the defensive rebound.
And that was a great job by Katrina Edwards to hedge on the screen as she was able to cut down on the angle. Cognetta forced to take a bit of a deeper shot than she wanted. And now, talking about free throws, Grace Geary back to the line for 2 more. After that one was called on Allen. I believe that's her first. Rather, Murphy.
Geary makes them both. And the lead is up to 12.
And Geary's had a quieter day than normal, but she still has 3 points. She and Murphy have combined for 29 of the Beacons' 55.
As D'Onofrio is tripped up there by Edwards, and Edwards looks like she might have been hurt on that last play.
Yeah, hopefully it's just hitting her knee hard on the floor. It didn't sound good from up here as her teammates attend to her.
Yeah, it looked like they got tangled up a little bit as D'Onofrio was looking to drive. She's back on her feet. She's going to stay in the game.
Yeah, that might have been a hip as well as the knee, and we'll see how long she stays out there. Morrison taking a breather.
She was limping a little bit. Seems to be moving around all right now. Cognetta looking to drive. She kicks it back out to Murphy. Murphy drives the lane, hits the floater, and it is back to a 10-point game. Full court press still on as Burston's going to be fouled. This one's going to be on, I believe, Cognetta. It is. So the Beacons now in the double bonus, 10th team foul by the Owls. So Burston to the line to shoot 2.
Great job by Burston to split the double team. Cognetta's not used to having a player smaller than her able to get underneath the arms and make a move to the towards the basket. And that was a nice job by Burston to just draw enough contact rather than giving up the ball right underneath her own free throw line.
Burston made the first. She's 2 of 2.
And Tajay's got 8 points on just 4 attempts. A very efficient day from the Beacons point guard.
So this is Murphy back inside to Voitas, who's going to be fouled. This is going to be 1-1 for Voitas, as that foul is on number 32, Katrina Edwards.
And that's Edwards' third, so she and Morrison have 3 apiece. But once again, that's what you expect out of Katrina Edwards. She knows she's not going to play 40 minutes, so she's told to bring the energy, bring the aggressiveness, and she can give up some of those fouls because she's doing it on the right kind of plays, as otherwise that would have been a chance for D'Anolfo to go up with it, have a pretty decent shot from 6 feet away from the basket.
Possession arrow favors the Owls, so they'll keep possession here as Voitas tries to put up a floater. Doesn't go, and Geary comes away with the rebound. Double team now by Murphy and Voitas, excuse me. She's able to break that, drive the lane, lay it up. Won't go. Not a bad individual effort there by Grace Geary to break out of the double team, get a decent look inside. As D'Anolfo goes coast to coast. A little bit of confusion on who the foul is going to be called on.
I believe it's going to be Olivia Murphy, who just tried to reach in on the scoop shot. And D'Anolfo said, anything you can do, I can do better. Geary, just a phenomenal job to break the press, but she got inside a little bit too far, right off the underside of the rim. Had Murphy, but elected to take the shot herself. And then D'Anolfo was able to get by Katrina Edwards, and Murphy was alone. She's able to complete the 3-point play, cut the deficit to 9, and Morrison back in there for Edwards, who has the 3 fouls and is a little bit banged up.
There's one way to break the press as Matthew throws the deep ball to Geary, who's able to finish that off.
Yeah, it's 94 feet down the floor, and Geary was able to catch that ball 92 feet away from her own basket, a very easy lay-in. And Katie Matthew, well, I'm sure she's played some powder puff football in the past.
This is Murphy driving the lane, and she'll be fouled on the inside.
It's going to be Morrison's 4th. Oh.
They're going to give it to Murphy. It's going to be her 3rd. And Sam Murphy will head to the line for the Owls. Shoot.
Doug, that's a break for the Beacons, as they called a block there, and it looked like Morrison was the one that made contact, but now 3 fouls on both of the Beacons bigs rather than 4 on Morrison. So UMass Boston dealing with a little bit of foul trouble. 3 fouls on Morrison, Murphy, and Edwards, the only 3 bigs they've played today.
3 ball from Burston. Won't go. Voitas was there for the rebound. Punched out of bounds by Matthew. So the Owls will take over with just under 5 minutes remaining here in the half. Game 1 of our basketball doubleheader here on the Beacons Broadcast Network. Doug Chen, Seth Orensky with you here from the Clark Athletic Center Gymnasium. The Beacons lead 59-48. This is D'Anolfo. Tried to lay it in. Rebound Roberts. Roberts back to D'Anolfo. We'll kick it back out 3 seconds left on the shot clock. And it looks like the Owls are going to be bailed out as there was a foul there as the shot clock expired.
Yeah, Morrison reached in there trying to avoid allowing Cognetta to get all the way to the rim, and she's going to be called for her 4th, and just not a smart foul from the senior captain, as even if Cognetta had gotten by Morrison, she still might not have beaten the shot clock there, and it was a good job by Cognetta, the team's leading scorer, who's had a difficult day, just 5 points, to recognize the situation and has a chance to cut further into the deficit.
So they got about a minute extra out of Morrison before she has to head to the bench with her 4th foul, as Cognetta will knock down that free throw. 9-point game now. Geary, 4 seconds to get it across the timeline, as she will. Burson back over to Geary. Geary finds Murphy. Murphy tried to short Jay. Roberts came away with a rebound. Allen pushing the ball up court. Looks inside to Roberts. Left-handed lay-in won't go.
Beacons were fortunate there. Edwards needs to be cognizant that Allen's not looking for her own shot. It's a very unselfish play from Allen to find the wide open big, and Edwards had come to double team and slow down Allen.
Murphy with turnaround jumper that won't go, as the Owls come away with it. 3.5 minutes remaining, 9-point game here. Layup attempt by D'Onofrio won't go. Murphy with the rebound.
And that should have been an offensive foul on Courtney Roberts. It was a moving screen as she was able to allow D'Onofrio to get by both bigs by stepping in front. But then when she continues to move, that's an offensive foul by definition, a moving screen. No call. She missed the shot, so either way, the ball doesn't lie. But 3:21 to go right now. Doug, the Beacons, their offense is getting the looks that they want, but they need to slow it down a little bit. Use the clock. It's your friend. Both teams in the bonus right now. You need to hit your free throws, and you need to make wise decisions. Right now, the biggest thing, though, is you can't give up threes. You know who's going to be taking them. Voitas is a good three-point shooter. Cognetta is capable of scoring from anywhere on the floor. You don't give up the threes, and you take the right shots on offense at the right point of the shot clock. This should be an easy win, leading by 9 with just 3:21 to go.
Yeah, and as we've been talking about it all along, it's going to be interesting to see how the Beacons shoot their free throws coming down the stretch. Obviously, the Owls are going to be looking to keep the ball out of the hands of Burston, Geary. Try to send some of the weaker free throw shooters to the line for UMass Boston. As we're coming out of the timeout now, Beacons will inbound from just to the right of the scorer's table. Both teams in the double bonus. Coming out of the timeout, that ball's turned over. That can't be what Coach Mattingly was looking for coming out of that timeout. So the Owls look to capitalize on the turnover. Well defended there, as it looked like it was partially blocked there by Geary. And then she's going to pick up the blocking foul on, it's going to be on Voitas.
And Keith Boucher was upset with the lack of a call on the D'Onofrio shot. Then he was even more upset as Geary bowled over Voitas, but Geary so quick, able to draw a little bit of movement before the block happened, and then Boucher right next to the referees going off and a technical foul. And this should be 2 free throws and the ball at minimum for the Beacons, as the foul should have led to 2 free throws. The technical leads the Beacons getting the ball back.
Right.
And it's just a frustrating sequence of events for Keith Boucher, and I think he's a little bit frustrated by the way his team has played as well. They haven't executed as well, but going back to that last inbounds play, Grace Geary showing that she's still a freshman. Yes, Olivia Murphy is your team's best scorer. Yes, or second on the team in scoring, but really she's a prolific scorer. Leads the team today with her 16 points. As Geary will get 2 more now after the foul. So 1 of 2 thus far. That makes her 7 of 10 for the day, as the Beacons shooting over 70% from the line. But just no need with 25 seconds on the clock to make a dangerous pass like that.
Geary makes both of those free throws. She's 1 for 2 on the technical, so 3 for 4 in that last sequence. As the Beacons open up the lead back up to 12. 3 minutes remaining here in the game. Voitas going inside to Roberts. Roberts tries to lay it in. Rebound Edwards. Nice pass there by Geary, who finds Edwards inside. I believe this foul is going to be before the shot.
Well, either way, it'll be a 2-shot foul. But, Doug, that's that freshman enthusiasm, that cockiness that she brings to the floor. Looking up here, I'm wondering, why are you making that pass? But if it works, you're giving Edwards a great chance at an N1 opportunity. Neither Keene State players could believe the pass had been made. And now I believe that's the 5th foul on either Voitas or D'Onofrio. Both of those players were in foul trouble, and it should be, as we wait on the live stats and from the announcement, but that should be the 5th on D'Onofrio, who's not out on the floor and was right there. So 20-second break to allow Keene State to get a substitution, but that makes the comeback even more difficult with Voitas, the team's leading three-point shooter.
Edwards misses the first. Two and a half minutes left here in game 1 of our women's-men's basketball doubleheader here, as Edwards knocks down the second one.
A little bit of luck there.
So this is Purcell now. Up to Voitas. Voitas with the floater. Won't go. Rebound by Kober, who gets tied up with Edwards. This ball is going to go to the Beacons, I believe, unless there was a foul called. I'm sorry. Edwards is going to be called for the foul. That's her 4th. So Kober will go to the line shooting 2.
Well, I'm not exactly sure where the foul came from, but Katrina Edwards has been one of the Beacons' best players today. 5 points, 5 rebounds. It doesn't show in the stat line, but she's brought such great energy and aggressiveness for this Beacon second unit. And when you don't have Murphy or Morrison, one of your big-time scorers in there, you have to bring something else to the game, something where you can bring something that one of those other players can't. And she's helped the Beacons be a little bit better defensively when she's out there on the floor. And it's huge when you know that you can get good production from your second unit. The Beacons have only gone 7 deep, but Matthew and Edwards have certainly provided some big contributions today for the Beacons.
As Cognetta is going to be called for the foul. That's her 3rd. So Burson to the line to shoot 2. He'll make the first.
And Doug, we wondered who would be the other players reaching double figures. No surprise that Grace Geary has gotten hers, especially from the line. 9 of 12. She's up to a team-high 18 points. But if Burston can hit this one, she's got double digits in both games against Keene State. And she does it so quietly, but those 10 points, that 3rd score is huge, as Marson hasn't had the biggest of days. Katie Matthew hasn't had the biggest of days, but UMass Boston's gotten points from every player who has scored today. Not always the case.
3 ball from Cognetta won't go. Yeah, and we were talking about it before. They got a lot of contributions from just 3 players the first time these two teams met. Able to move the ball around a little bit more today as this ball comes inside to Morrison for the easy lay-in. Nice look there from Murphy. And I think that you could say that this team clearly learned from that first defeat back in December.
Yeah, and I think they're just a little bit more comfortable playing here at home. I think they're a little bit more comfortable in their own skins, as that one just a little bit too strong. Grace Geary, though, is a difference maker. Geary 0 for 7 in the first game, 0 for 5. I do believe that she got on the scoreboard, although that was from the free throw line, and she did finish with 2 points on 2 for 2 free throw shooting. When Grace Geary is on, the Beacons are a three-headed monster. When Grace Geary isn't in the game, and you don't have Katie Matthew going off or Tajay Burston going off, it's a little bit easier to contain the big two. The conference has had 2 years of scouting and preparing for the combination of Morrison and Murphy down low. Grace Geary is a revelation in that teams have had a little bit less time to scout her, and she's one of the more unpredictable players in the league because sometimes even her teammates or coaches don't necessarily believe what they're seeing out there. She had so many different moves to finish down low, and some of the passes she makes, questionable in terms of a basketball sense, but when they work out, they really create some stunning results. The most amazing statistic to me, Grace Geary's been credited with 1 assist. Doug, if you're not looking at the statistics, I'd assume she had 5 or 6, but the Beacons have been fouled on some of those shots. They've missed a shot, but then they've gotten their own rebound and put it up and in. If you had some additional information, some of those really deep analytics about points coming off of a pass, then I think that she would have a few more assists. As Geary's done a tremendous job. She and Burston do such a nice job of working off each other, and Geary and Burston can replace each other in a way. When Burston heads to the bench, the Beacons don't lose anything in terms of ball handling or having a point guard out there. As Geary is one of the top players in terms of minutes per game. She hasn't left the game today. Neither has Burston. And Morrison and Murphy have played for the majority of the game, with Nelson and Matthew really the only players who have played closer to 20 minutes rather than 40.
16-point lead now as we're in the final minute of today's game. That shot won't go as Matthew comes away with the rebound. She's going to be fouled. It's going to be called on Voitas. Just a second on Voitas, but Matthew's going to head to the line to shoot 2. She'll make the first. She'll make them both. 70 points now for the Beacons. $18-point lead now for the hosts as this ball comes inside to Cognetta, who lays it in. Still applying the full court press. And that's going to be an offensive foul and a turnover on Grace Geary.
I think the referee, that might have been a makeup call. Cognetta got her hand on Geary's wrist. It wasn't enough for the call, and then Geary tried to extend out the elbow to gain a little bit of space, but that might have been a call after there have been a couple calls late in this game that haven't gone Keene State's way.
That shot won't go. Good hustle attempt by Cognetta to keep that in, but she played it right to the hands of Morrison. Ball finds Burston, who will be fouled by Cognetta.
I think this one's actually going to go on Voitas.
Yep. It's on Voitas. That's her third. And with such a big lead, free throws come of less importance than we were talking about earlier on, but they've been hitting them down the stretch, and that's got to be good looking forward for this team.
Yeah, UMass Boston, after this made free throw, 20 of 27 now, after just a 7 of 17 performance on Tuesday. Beacon shooting over 73% from the free throw line, and that's a really comfortable thing. And Tajay Burston, she's not one of the players who gets noticed as much. She's 6 of 6 from the free throw line. She's the player you want at the line, despite the statistics from Geary, because she just seems so calm all the time.
Voitas with a nice lay in there with just 12.5 seconds remaining. As Keene State will take a timeout here
12 and a half seconds to go as our brand new in-game scoring clock testing it out for the first time. We hope that you've enjoyed being able to have the exact time on the clock for today's game. Brian Feil doing a great job directing. Ryan Augustine on the camera for today's Sunday matinee. But, Doug, I think this is the exact kind of performance that head coach Courtney Manley wanted to have. As we'll have her on our post-game show in just a few moments. But balanced offensively and defensively, showing that they could respond well to the loss against UMass Dartmouth, and the free throw shooting definitely a big key. This has been one of the Beacon's better performances, not nearly on the same par as the Brandeis game, but that might have been the Beacon's best performance of the year, in that Brandeis had beaten them by 38 a year ago. And normally conference games are close. For one reason or another, you're familiar with the other team. You know exactly what they're good at, what they're bad at, what you need to focus on. Non-conference games, sometimes you get some big blowouts. That happened a year ago. The Beacons came back and won by 4, but certainly a positive showings. The Beacons, their only home loss came to Eastern Connecticut State, the presumed top team, but they've done a nice job against the other team, beating Rhode Island College by 5, and now they've got Southern Maine on Tuesday. That's a statement game. If the Beacons can come away with the victory against the Huskies, they'll really prove they're contenders in this conference ahead of their games against Rhode Island College and Eastern Connecticut on the road.
And as we mentioned, today's win will move the Beacons to 4-3 in conference play this year, moving them into a tie with the University of Southern Maine and Rhode Island College, their next two opponents coming up. And as you mentioned, those are going to be the big tests. They can take those big steps forward, leapfrog those two teams. They're looking sweet going as they look down the stretch towards the Little East Conference Tournament.
And not that there's any easy games. The Beacons will have UMass Dartmouth at home after Eastern Connecticut State. UMass Dartmouth currently leading the conference at 6-1, their lone loss coming at Eastern Connecticut State. Then the Beacons have Plymouth State, the only team without a win. The Beacons blew out Plymouth State, so that should be a victory, but then up to Southern Maine, a place that they've never won, and then Western Connecticut State. And who knows where the Colonials will be at that point in the season. They've been high, they've been low, and it's really just a question of which Colonials team it'll be. But a good win for UMass Boston, a 19-point win. I don't think anyone expected the final margin to be this big, and it's amazing considering we had ourselves a tie game 7 minutes in to the second half.
Yeah, it was definitely very strong effort by the Owls coming out at halftime, but then another strong effort by the Beacons to recover from that after letting the Owls back into the game and come away with such a decisive victory.
Yeah, UMass Boston showing their fight, and that's the big thing, as the Beacons took a 15-point lead at halftime, saw it go away, and then came back to come away with a big victory. We're going to take a break. We'll have the final statistics, and I'll try to go grab head coach Courtney Manley for an interview.